out a little something different. And I'm glad there's a few people that's touching on this topic on ancient Kemitcu. And we had this Arab, this so-called Arab guy who says he's descendant of the ancient Egypt, and that's his culture and his people. And we already told you that, right now, Egypt today is it's you right now, but before back, like during ancient times, none of the Egyptians don't even look like you. So for years they always been pushing this so-called that the ancient Egyptians or ancient Kemetic people just migrated from the Levant and settled in the Nile Valley. And not just in the Nile, they went damn near all the way down to damn near past the Second Cataract. And basically, they settled in what you call today Upper Egypt, or Lower Nubia. And that's where they say the ancient Egyptian empire started. Now, what these European and Arab historians will do, they'll point to all the New Kingdom statues and shit like that. Back when basically Egypt was already being mixed, because you got to understand, you had a lot of integrations, couple conquests. You had the Persians came in, the Babylonians first. The Babylonians conquered parts of Egypt, mainly Lower Egypt. So you had them mixing with the Babylonians mixed. Then you had that mixture between the ancient Kemites and Babylonians, or Assyrians. So after that, after the Assyrians, they got defeated by the Persians. The Persians occupied Egypt. So they occupied it. Right? So they occupied it for a few 100 years. Then you had the Macedonians or Greeks that came in and they conquered it. They conquered the Persians. After the Persians, you had the Romans. Now, after the Romans had it, then the Arab conquest. The Arabs came in finally, the last, then the Ottoman Turks. So you had all these invaders coming in from From Turks, Arabs, Assyrians, all these different group of people that mixed with the ancient Kemet. They came in to mix. So, of course, the geographics, then you had the Greeks. So, of course, the geographics gonna change after a few thousand years to what you got today in modern day Egypt, in Alexandria, Cairo, Thebes, all the major cities, you'll see a mixture of Egyptians. But once you leave out those areas and go into the rural side, you start seeing all these black people down there, and as far south, that's all you're gonna see, basically all these black people that's living in rural areas. And Egypt all the way down to Luxor, all the way down to Giza, because all the monuments, all the big monuments is in the south, Upper Egypt. Not in the north, in the south. Like down there going into Sudan. So you start seeing statues, the farther back you go, the more African, all the statues, the images, they start having full noses, full African nose, full lips, all African features, right? The farther you go back into ancient Kemet, all the features start looking more and more what they call sub-Saharan. So, this is another clue to show you where the Egyptians' origins come. Because they'll tell you that, oh, they came from Lebanon and settled in ancient Kemet. So let me get this straight. Their history completely tells a different story on where they come from. Their history is completely fucking tells a whole different story of the origin of them people. And see, this is what another thing they're not going to tell you. Ancient Nubia, Tarseti, the land of the bow, is older than ancient Kemet. It's older because the reason why it's older, because the Egyptians came out of ancient Kemet, out of ancient Nubia. They came out, I was going to stop at this love, I'll keep going. They came out of ancient Nubia, out of Tarseti. That's what it is. Further south, you got to keep in mind all the structures, like the Sphinx itself. Everybody think it used to be a man's head. No, it was a lion's head. It used to be a lion, and it was put there, built by ancient people before Tarseti even existed. The Sphinx is the oldest object. The oldest structure is older than the pyramids. You have weathering on the Sphinx where it was torrential rainfall. That means that area wasn't always a desert. That means it was a savanna like you go down in the Serengeti, South Africa, Tanzania. They got all the animals and stuff like antelopes, gazelles, wildebeest, lions, elephants, and all this shit. And when the desert started, due to the expansion of the desert, all the animals and all the people followed where the water is. So they either went west down to southwest Africa, or they went east towards the Nile. That's why the Aruba said it came out of ancient Egypt. Now, we'll have all these historians, mostly Arabs who are from Egypt now, Europeans who want to just keep on pushing this narrative that Egypt was not an African civilization founded by black Africans. They just want to live in denial because the whole point of this is to say that Africans never did shit. Africans never invented shit. Black Africans never done shit. So by people finding out that Africans created this a black African civilization, that destroys all their narratives of African people. And you got to think about it because you don't got no structures in Northern Europe other than Britain. You got the fucking Stonehenge and Hadrian's Wall, that was built by Southern Europeans. And the Greeks and the Romans were heavily influenced by ancient Kemet. So they don't want the truth that these people were Egyptian, but African. Well, this is the trope that they always use. Well, if it was black Africans that founded Egypt, why ain't there many black Africans up there now that what you would call sub-Saharan Africa? I like, well, all these invasions, they pushed all the original people out. And I said to show you how that's done, look at the Native Americans and the white Americans. When the Europeans first came over, you had Native Americans everywhere. Now that the Europeans took over, where are the Native Americans in? They're on reservations and stuff, right? Well, then that explains all that people being placed. That's why white folks running around here talking about, oh, we gonna be replaced, the great replacement. Even though you got white supremacists laying up with black women and shit, and then they talk about white replacement. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But they want to keep pushing this narrative that ancient Egypt was a Near Eastern civilization, and it was not. It was not what you call a people that started their kingdom did not start from the Levant. They were indigenous to Africa, which I keep telling people, Arabs are not indigenous to Africa. And then there's another thing too to destroy that bunk. And narrative that even the Arabs were even all white at one time. The Arabs once looked like the Somalis in Ethiopia. Yes, the Arabs were once black at one time. They were once black. See, so now you destroying that myth. You know, but like I said, they've been pushing this shit for a long time, basically trying to discredit basically black historians and people who want to know the truth, you know. And we already told them that all the further south you go, you see more structures, and the farther you go back, all the structures and statues and images of those people start to look sub-Saharan Africa. They start to look Cushitic, Nilotic, the mixture of, because you had Cushitic, Nilotic, and Bantu people mixed. The three people that founded ancient Kemet: Bantu, Nilotic, and Cushitic. And they always say, well, you Bantus don't have no ties to that because you all started moving out during the Bantu expansion. Bullshit. Bantu expansion started way before you Europeans even knew about it. So, like we always said, ancient Kemet is an African civilization. It always have been. And they just tried to whitewash it or Arab-wash it. You know, try to whitewash it as possible. Even from the point they got mad at the biracial girl that played Cleopatra. And I said, you know what? It's possible that the biracial woman could be look like Ptolemy's daughter from the Ptolemaic line, because you got to keep in mind, Ptolemy took on Egyptian wives, Kemetic wives, which they don't want to talk about. So that nobody never think about that. I said, what if that image of Cleopatra they put in that Cleopatra movie was accurate? Yeah, she probably was. Her father, the Macedonians, the Greek Macedonians, were Greek, but by that time they was mixing with the ancient Kemetic people. But yet, I'm gonna show you that was really more accurate than them having Liz Taylor play Cleopatra. That was way more accurate. If you really want to be accurate, it's possibilities that that's how Cleopatra looked. But nobody never thought about that, because everybody, all of them got mad at this biracial girl playing Cleopatra, because, like I tell biracial people, Cleopatra, you know, Cleopatra, like I tell you, think they like biracial people? Biracial people, Cleopatra, the biracial girl that played Cleopatra, they was up there making mockery of that. We was queens. We was queens. They was mad at that, a biracial woman playing Cleopatra. That show you how much they have. They do not want no African tie to ancient Kemet. Even though it was an African civilization that started in the South, they just do not want to recognize it. Even though there's tons and tons of proof of them fucking images of knocking the noses off, scrubbing some of the images and repainting them white because they too dark. They look too sub-Saharan. Then they try to say, well, Egypt was a mixed civilization. Yeah, at the end, Yeah, at the end, but at the beginning, no. It was a complete African civilization. Completely indigenous Africans were the ancient Kemitcu. And that's the damnedest bottom line. Because Stone Cold says, that was just bullshit. But that's the damnedest bottom line.